Hey y'all, Kevin Hutchison here with Realty Austin, and I am grateful to be a part of Stories Inside the Man Cave, a homegrown podcast just like my own business.
Wake your ass up
or take a damn nap.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
It's time.
Sean, you were twerking. That's going to happen.
Murph, don't be a dick all your life.
It's one of the more fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, I tell you what, if you're not talking about sports in the man cave, I better not say you're not a man.
That's it.
Well, if you're watching from another part of the country, let me just tell you the word Judson. Converse Judson, it resonates in the history of Texas high school football. And this guy is a Judson Rocket through and through. Mark Soto, a guy that I became acquainted with about 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he has quite a story. And, man, what a career as a player, a coach, friend of mine now a friend of the pod. Mark Soto, man, I appreciate you making time for this.
Well, I appreciate you calling, man. On the Stories Inside of the Man Cave, I'm all over that.
If it wasn't this time of year, Man Cave, it includes certain beverages and, the conversations usually go all different directions in these episodes. Yeah,
definitely. I'll tell you what, if I'd had a little bit more time, I would have had a beverage right here.
And me too, as we were talking before, it has been one of those weeks. One of those days where you're juggling to try to make things work. Simply.
Definitely just getting after it right now. It's that time of year for coaches.
And for you, before we dive into it, you guys start next week, correct?
Yes, we started with our freshmen this week, but our varsity JV comes in next Monday.
Cannot wait. That's the way it is with programs in Texas, high schools who had spring ball. They wait till the second week of August, and those who didn't have spring, they started already. This is day 4. One of the best times of year, arguably. So this episode 165 with Mark Soto, sponsored by our guys you saw at the top, Honest AC and Plumbing. No, you did not see him. Honest AC and Plumbing's in Hutto. They serve the northern suburbs. They're old school, veteran-owned, locally owned, truly locally owned, and they believe in that handshake agreement, meaning they stand behind their services. So give those guys a call if you live in Hutto, Georgetown, Cedar Park, North Austin, Round Rock, all those areas right there. So one thing that I love when we bring on coaches or former athletes, we like to bring pictures from the past. And this is what I love as we dive into this story, the Judson Rockets tradition. I want to bring up you've seen this picture many times. It's black and white, which really reveals our age, Coach. Right there. Yeah. What is that? The state championship game in what year?
Yeah, that's a state championship game in 1990, and that's at the Houston Astrodome. And that right there, I believe, is Trincy Clow we're trying to tackle. If I'm not mistaken, from Marshall, Texas, and he was a water bug, man, hard to catch.
Marshall Mavericks, East Texas, full of speed. Yep. They made a miraculous. I think that's the year when Division I started, right? In 5A. Is that how it was?
I maybe so. I remember about them was one they had the fastest schoolboy 100-meter dash guy on their team. They had him, and then the second one was the running back, and the receiver was the fastest. And then their head coach was Dennis Parker, who happened to be our offensive coordinator back in 1983 when we won the state championship. So they were well, they knew us pretty well.
And that's you right there, 54,
64. That was 64, and that's Shane Nagy helping me out on that tackle. He was a officer here in San Antonio for many years, just retired.
Yeah, I love these stories. And it's for those of you who are not from Texas, or maybe you're in Texas and you're not sure exactly where Judson is. If you're coming in on 35, you'll see the exits program, which has a story tradition. I mean, from what you know, you grew up living, breathing to be a Rocket that you're aspiring to be. I mean, it's one of those towns. It's like an Odessa Permian story, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess it's in the late 70s, it started getting turned around a little bit. Before that, it's just a little old farm town, really. San Antonio hadn't grown into Converse. And then, early 80s, 82, 80, 83 is when they won their first state championship under Frank Arnold. And that's when the turn started. That's when D.W. Rutledge came, and then he brought in a staff when Frank Arnold went to be the AD. And it just started to turn and take it flourished from there. You know, you had Sterling Jigger, you had Pete Gibbons, you had Ron Fott, you had Bruce Webb, you had just a whole bunch of coaches that stayed there for a long time and did it the right way and kind of really set trends on how people kind of pattern their teams. You know, all over the state of Texas, you can see a little bit of the Judson Rockets in every team.
Oh, it's no doubt. And that logo looks like a rocket. It's a J, and I don't think it's changed much.
The Diamond J was made by Miss Trees years and years ago, and her son still works on campus. He's part of the our ag department, and his entire family's worked through Judson. His daughter worked there. His dad was a principal and coach there when we were there, and he's still the head of the ag department, J Trees, and his mom, I believe, patterned that Diamond J is what we call it. And matter of fact, we had our team meeting today, and that's the first slide they see is a Diamond J because it means something. I mean, we can fly around and you go to airports and wear our logo on our cap or our shirt, and sooner or later somebody's going to pull us over and say something. Hey, is that team from Judson? I mean, from Texas? And sure enough, we go through the story, and they've seen Judson play on TV at one point in time in their life.
That's amazing. It's recognition, like the logo, like Texas, the Longhorn logo. Mm-hmm. People recognize that globally, and it is like that here in Texas. And there's Judson Rockets all over the country. The talent, how it's zoned, it's right by an Air Force base, correct? Correct. Mm-hmm. Which one is that?
It's Randolph Air Force Base, and back in the mid '80s, late '90s. Many pilots come through there. It's a pilot training Air Force base. And, every year it never fails. Somebody will call and say, hey, I'm in the military. I'm moving into San Antonio. We heard Judson was the place to go. Yeah. And, we get them enrolled in school and because that Air Force base is so near, you got quite a few people coming through. And then, what happens a lot is those military men that come through here and women, they decide to retire in San Antonio and they move right back to the area.
That's amazing. I didn't know exactly. I knew it was Air Force related because San Antonio is such a military town with multiple Air Force bases. You mentioned your coach, the legend, D.W. Rutledge. I want to pull this up here for you guys just so you see the guy. He hasn't aged a bit, in my opinion. Right there. I mean, 198 career wins, 4 Class 5A state championships. I mean, he's made a lasting impact on so many people, including yourself, right?
Oh, without doubt. I don't think I'm in the place I am right now without Coach Rutledge. As I came up as a sophomore, I was honored enough to play on the varsity team and be able to do some special teams as a sophomore. And they pulled up 12 of us to work out with the varsity, and about 8 of us made the varsity as sophomores. And we played in that 1988 state championship against Dallas Carter. And to have him coach, stand behind me pretty much as a linebacker. He was the linebacker coach. He stood behind me for pretty much 2-3 years straight. And just to listen to the wisdom and feel the wisdom and just feel the intensity of the man coaching, it was pretty important in my career. And, I definitely would not be here without him and my family's upbringing. Because they both coincided. They were the same. Whatever my dad and my mom were telling me at home, I was getting at Judson High School right there every day from the man behind me. So it kind of cemented my values and my morals and moved us forward. Being able to choose success and work for success throughout my years. So it was pretty important. Legendary isn't really the word. I mean, that dude is a father figure.
Mm-hmm. He's still highly regarded, active in the Texas High School Coaches Association. And where do you think his roots before he, because he was a coordinator at Judson before he was a head coach, right?
Yes, definitely. He was at Texas Lutheran College is where he went to school, and Jim Wacker was his coach. And Jim Wacker was probably just as influential on him as he was on me. A lot of his teachings, a lot of the Judson way comes from Jim Wacker, and it all starts with enthusiasm. And it all starts with doing your best. Don't sweat the rest. Those things were the main key pride. And Coach Rutledge demanded that of all of his teams and all of his coaches. You're going to coach with passion. You're going to coach with enthusiasm. You're going to do things the right way. You're going to be a good man. Coach Rutledge came up rough. He came up hard. And at one point in time in his life, if you ever talked to him, he was kind of a wayward child there at the end and didn't have a place to go to college until Jim Wacker walked around and found him in Houston driving a beer truck as his job. And got him out of that situation and got him into Texas Lutheran. And from there he flourished. And then ever since then, going to college at TLC and then moving on to Texas State and coached with him a little bit there. And then he started his high school career. I believe it was Holmes High School. And then he went over to Judson, and from Judson, that's where Frank Arnold pulled him over. And after that, it kind of just took off. And there wasn't many people that went against what Coach Rutledge said because they believed in the man himself. It wasn't about his X's and O's. It was about a good man wanting the best out of people's children. And he was one of the best, if not the best, to ever pull the best things out of kids. I mean, he took some kids that were coming from some rough homes, some kids from all different kinds of homes, and he made them believe in a single team concept. Yeah. And that's what was so impressive, that he could bring a locker room together just with his mannerisms and his coaches helping and get us all to believe in one thing. And that was the most important thing. And what was really cool is, that those locker rooms back in those days, I know people sometimes don't like the way it comes out when you say it, but those locker rooms that we had didn't have colors in them. They were just a bunch of young men trying to get after it and do things the right way because a man was showing us the right way to do it, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
We understood individuals. We understood those were the African-American kids over there, and those are the Hispanic kids, and those are the white kids, and those are the Chinese kids and Asian kids. And we understood that, but we all played as one, and that was what's so impressive about the program.
And it's sustainable success, and obviously it worked. It had a plan, and you mentioned Jim Wacker, the late Jim Wacker. If you think about what he did at TLC, then goes to Southwest Texas, now Texas State, back-to-back national championships at the D2 level, then goes to TCU, turns them around.
Right.
It's pretty impressive, that coaching tree, and Coach Rutledge, what he has done at obviously at the high school level. It's pretty envious that you were directly impacted. So this boils down, or we're just going down the tree to you now, your path back to Judson. So Coach Soto and I met when he was flipping that San Marcos program. They had a completely just a community of built into or bought into the facilities, everything, bonds, whatnot. And you flip that into a playoff contender. Then you go to Johnson High School in San Antonio. And I correct me if I'm wrong, I've never talked to you about this, but I know that was hard. It must have been hard for you because you were becoming really tied to that program. And then all of a sudden, this Judson opportunity, it's a no-brainer. You had to take that.
At the end of the day, I love my time at Johnson. I love my time in San Marcos. But the goal walking off the field in 1990 against that Marshall team, as I walked off and I turned around and saw them celebrating, was to get back to Judson and win a state championship. Wow. That has always been the goal. I would have, if I would have stayed at Johnson, which I could have, and I would have been happy. But I would have regretted not trying to get that Judson job one last time. And good Lord puts us in places at the right times. I think I had to go on my trek towards and through San Marcos and Johnson to get to this Judson job and do it the right way.
kind of leads to this. You know, you and I remember sitting down in your office in San Marcos. You pulled out some binders, and it was, you know, you're very organized. You know, a lot of coaches are creatures of habit, but you pulled out the same the philosophy from Coach Rutledge, and I think it said the Rockets way, and it was that Diamond J.
Right.
What can you reveal about that, the Rockets way that's instilled into generations of kids, and that you're trying to, I guess, reconnect the kids now to the Rockets way?
You know, like I said, we had a team meeting today, and I asked the kids to raise their hand if they've ever played or ever won a playoff game at Judson High School. None of them could raise their hand to that.
Oh, my God.
And so to reconnect what I call the old heads, all of us old Rockets, to these new kids and have those old Rockets kind of share memories and share ways that we got it done. For example, uniform, you know, kids these days, they want to wear all kinds of uniforms because that's what they see in college.
Right.
Well, I told them this today. I said, well, you know, there's 6 trophies in there where we all wore the same uniform. I said, we're going to wear the same uniform this year. Do you understand? Yes, sir. So just connecting to some of those things, those team concepts. The Rocket Way is all about Rocket Pride. And Rocket Pride is simply doing your best, not sweating the rest, and doing it with enthusiasm and doing it for the man next to you. You basically build the character of the young man, and the best athlete comes out. And that's what Rocket Pride's always stood for. It's always about, if you ask any of our teachers, any of our old Rockets, what Rocket Pride is, they're going to say those type things. Everybody has a little bit of their own definition to it, but it really comes down to effort, enthusiasm, discipline, and that team spirit, that brotherhood. If you look at our coaches' shorts that we wore Monday, the first day, it says Rockets Brotherhood, and it kind of sums it all up.
That's a beautiful thing, because they carry with you for the rest of your lives, as we talk about everyone who's impacted. One thing I do remember, and I'm going to pull it up real quick. It's only a small portion of it. A special guy that we did a story on. And this guy, I'll let everyone see it. It was a moving story, but and it moved everyone who saw it, including myself and then you and I during an interview.
You got love in your heart. You got pride on your back. Man, you can do anything.
The strength of this team's love begins with this guy.
D-Max, like my brother.
You wouldn't know Demarcus was a cancer survivor.
You know, a small part of that cancer survivor, and because it's a long story, it's a great story because of you, Demarcus, your team that year. But that leads me, I think, I found out who you were and your why. And just listening to that, I mean, how do you describe? Everybody has a why, but
yeah,
how does your why? How is it revealed?
Well, first with Demarcus, me and Demarcus were linked by heart right off the bat because of his cancer survivor story. The picture of the young man in the beginning of the promo that you showed is my nephew Christopher. A lot of people think he's my son, but that's my nephew. And he's a cancer survivor too. So right off the bat, me and Demarcus Hall clicked. We understood each other, and we understood the struggle that both him and my nephew went through.
Yeah.
So making the connection with him was easy. All the other connections that we ever make in coaching, if you're coaching for the right reasons, those connections are simply mentorship and trying to get these kids to understand there's so much better out there. You know, you're trying to teach them how to go about finding success, whatever their success might be. Yeah. It could be being a father. It could be a CEO. It could be a sportscaster. It could be an NFL player, NBA player. But how do you go about finding and getting that success and earning that success? And I think every good coach, the best programs, those coaches do it really, really well. Yeah. And then even those programs like San Marcos, where we were 1-9 and 2-8, we still kept what was important, which is teaching them how to be good young men. And in my opinion, just the way I was taught and the way I was brought up with Coach Rutledge and all his coaches, that's the only way to coach. You know, I tell the kids all the time, the good Lord will bless us with wins when he blesses us. before that, after that, all we're going to do is keep working hard. That's the only answer I have for you, is to keep working hard, because that's what my parents taught me. They taught me to go to work every day, no matter what. They were hardworking, blue collar people that would just put their head down and go to work and get from one paycheck to the next paycheck and make sure that we had clothes on our back and food on the table. And that was their number one goal. And I think that's a success in its own story. And I think these kids need to understand that handouts, you need to make your own way. You don't need somebody to give you something. It's a lot more beneficial when you've earned it yourself. And that's what our coaching staff tries to do. And I know many of the coaches in Texas try to do that. Again, we've been blessed with winning at Johnson, and we've been blessed with winning in San Marcos, and hopefully we'll be blessed at Judson to win again.
Oh, there's not a doubt in my mind. What do you think it is? I know the generation before us, our generation, and the generation after us, every generation is different. What is it as a coach how do you connect? How do you reach these young people today? Because they're different. That's like every generation.
You say the kids are different, but I don't think the kids are different. I think parents raise them different. So part of your connection has to be with the parents. The other part of it is speaking their language. Their language now is social media. Their language now, their pat on the back, their high five is a like on Twitter.
That's a good point.
An announcement on Twitter. That's their big time. That's their highlight, to know that other people see them. At the end of the day, the best coaches, the ones that connect the best, are still the hard-nosed, structured coaches. Those are the ones the kids still respect the most. And that's why I say that the parenting has changed. Because I know some old school coaches like Bruce Webb, who's been with me for about 9 years now, coached at Judson for 19. He's on his second tour duty there, right? He's been doing it for 42 years, and he's been doing it the same way, and kids gravitate towards him. Our Judson kids love him because he's fair, he's firm, and he's structured. Every day they get the same Bruce Webb. And that's the way we pattern all of our coaches about, that's why he's there. He's there to be a coach's whisperer. Our kids and kids in general, in my opinion, need that structure, need that firm fairness, and need to be shown that sometimes you got to work for stuff. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail, because in failure comes growth to get back up and do it again and push yourself a little bit further. So, it's just huge for me to make these kids understand that hard work's the only answer. It's the only answer.
It is the only answer, because I think you nailed it. Was our generation of parents have told certain kids, never told them no. Or that's just my opinion. My opinion.
What they call them, helicopter parents and mobile parents,
hovering,
and they're hovering on them. That's fine. I want you to be a part of your son or your daughter's career, 100%. But at the same time, let them fall down, let them scrape their knee. Let's get them up and show them how not to do that again. Right? That's where the real learning starts, is when you fail and you say, "Oh man, I don't want to fail again. Let me try something different." And something different might be better for them. Once we get to that, once our parents trust us enough to let their kids do that, we're going to have some great success at Judson. I think that in itself, back in the old days with Rutledge, is they trusted the man so much that, you coach my son as hard as you need to. And what's great to hear is, at Judson now, a lot of those parents that we have right now, I played ball with them, their brother or their uncle.
That's wild.
And so there's a little bit of trust factor in there, and there's a little bit of understanding that, hey, these coaches at Judson know what they're doing. Let's just trust them, and let's just let them have our boys and see how they can raise them up and bring them up.
That's all it is trust. And I trust that maybe you'll enjoy this segment. It's for a sponsor of ours. Oh my God, this is the one that creates a lot of laughs, some embarrassment. Oh my God. So, throughout COVID, we heard the word pivot, adjust. Well, Manscaped.com, I thought was we have partnered, and they continue to pivot with products and kits, and our significant others in our lives, whenever they are present in our lives, I'm pretty sure through my experience that they would prefer us as men not to resemble a German Black Forest below the belt.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
They have amazing tools like the Lawnmower 4.0. Man, it's just, trust me, smooth, and the products. And I'll just show you. Here's the latest.
No, don't show us. Don't show us. Don't show us. No. All right.
The ultra smooth package, not my package, but shaving care for down there. And then, the world finally realized, and women love this because they're like, men need to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Because we don't as religiously as women traditionally do. And so we're catching up finally. Mm-hmm. So this is a 3-step process in this latest one. It's called the crop exfoliator. You use these all in the shower. Then the crop gel, you got to have clear growing shaving gel. You never want to burn. And then this is what I like to use. It's, this razor right here is a miracle. Size doesn't always matter, my friend.
What kind of show do you have me on here, man? We're going to put this under the segment of self-care.
Self-care. Self-love, self-care.
You got
and
it.
All the Judson Rocket Nation, if you want that ultra smooth package or any of the manscaped.com products, log on to manscaped.com. And here's the promo code. ManCave20, coach. One word.
Hit it.
It's simple. And we made it through that. Now we're back to regular Man Cave stuff. And this is how we wrap up the first segment. And the second segment's really fast.
Okay.
Is there a story that you love talking to or telling maybe your coaches, your family, friends? It is as comical now as it was the first time it happened.
Well, I'll tell a story about myself because we like to laugh about each other all the time, but on this segment, I'll just tell a story about myself. This is probably about year 2-3 coaching at San Marcos, and I'm a big time head coach, and man, or at least I think I am. And I think I've got, I got the world by the tail, and we're going into I believe it was our 3rd year because I know Coach Triero was with us and Coach Green was with us, a couple guys that are with me over at Judson right now. And we went out to our first practice, our first 2-a-day practice, and I thought I had prepared everybody well enough and organized everybody well enough. Well, we get out there, and about an hour and a half into the 2-hour practice, the water buckets go dry. We drank all the water.
Oh my God.
And of course I had to stop the practice, right? Because you can't practice in Texas without some water. So we stop and we get off the field and everybody's fine, but I am hotter than a hornet, boy. I am so mad, and I'm mad at myself, but I'm not letting this one on because remember, I'm a big time bad.
You're the football coach AD.
3rd year head coach. Nobody can tell me no different. I'm a veteran head coach, and I remember I get the coaches in the weight room because that was the only meeting spot we had, and they're all sitting on the benches and everything else. And I just start laying into our trainer for not having a proper hydration plan. And I want to make this dramatic leave, right? I want to leave this meeting. I went dramatically. We're in the weight room, so I can't kick the weight. I can't kick the benches. So I go to kick the door on the way out. Whatever the statement was, I can't even remember, but I just yelled as loud as I could. And I went to kick the door, and it was one of those latches at the mid door where you push and it opens and it goes. Well, I missed the latch and I kicked the door and it goes absolutely nowhere. A solid metal door goes nowhere.
Oh, no.
And then so I push again and I walk out, and about the 3rd step of walking out, I'm like, there is something wrong. There is something wrong. And I bite down on my mouthpiece because that's what Coach Rutledge taught me to do after I just chewed out these coaches, and especially the trainer. Doc was his name, Jaime Perez, one of the best trainers you'll ever see in your life. And we head home, and it's probably 9:00 at night. I've been home for 3 hours, and my toe is just throbbing and throbbing and throbbing. And I finally have to eat my pride. I had to call Doc, Jaime Perez, and I had to send him a picture. And I'm like, FaceTime him. I'm saying, hey, I'm sorry I yelled at you. Is this toe broke? And sure enough, that toe was crooked, and it's still crooked. And
to this day,
needless to say, I don't kick solid doors anymore, and I don't try to make a dramatic leave or a dramatic entrance anymore. We just get down to business now. So, Doc, if you're out there listening, which I'm sure you are, I'm sorry in public for undressing you in front of everybody about our hydration plan.
Hey, that's a real man stepping up, broken toe and all. It was purple.
If we could talk about manscaping, we could talk about broken toes.
Yeah. Oh, it was a smooth transition. Manscaping to purple toes.
There you go.
It matched the San Marcos jersey, by the way.
It sure did for about 3 weeks.
Well, my man, that is great. That is the first toe story I've heard on this podcast. Yeah. That's pretty phenomenal. We've all had those embarrassing moments where we thought we were taking our anger out on something and it didn't budge.
True.
Ever.
Mm-hmm. Hey, every man probably goes through that at one point in time.
Oh, 100. Yeah. I've done some embarrassing things at least 5 times in my life, give or take. Hey, Coach, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, man, it's all college football now. August camps, just like you guys opening next week. It's going to get your Coach Soto opinion on a few things, whatever he would offer, because you don't want to, hurt any relationships. It's just being the football fan that you are within.
My mama always told me the truth hurts.
True. That's this whole world needs to hear the truth more often. You tell mom that she knows she's a brilliant woman. That's all I got. She is that. Hey, we'll hit you up on the other side of this break.
Sounds good.
For all of your insurance needs, look no further than our primary sponsor, Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. The ATX OG has been insuring Austin for over 3 decades. And get this, Jim Saxton is a Longhorn legacy. He is the son of the late, great James Saxton, who was a Heisman finalist. Be sure to give him a call, or better yet, visit his website, saxtoninsurance.com, and tell him that the stories inside the Man Cave boys recommended you.
This is JJ Gotch, CEO of the Austin Gamblers. And segment 2 of Stories Inside the Man Cave is next.
Should be a very competitive training camp. I think we've got a competitive roster. We're young, which a lot of you know. I think we've got 57 of our 85 scholarship kids are freshmen or sophomores. So we've got a lot of growing up to do, and we need to grow up quickly. But we are talented, and it should be a competitive camp, like I said, in all 3 phases.
Wow. Mm-hmm. 57 of the 85 on the Longhorns roster, underclassmen.
You don't see that very often in college football anymore with the transfer portal.
No. That's, I'm going to go ahead and it's almost, I think there's 35 to 40 of those guys were not on the roster last season. I mean, in all of your years of experience in dealing with college football programs and recruiting, and I mean, is this what it's going to look like every year now? Do you think just that constant turnover?
I think Coach Sark knows what he's doing, and I think he's trying to change the culture there. And sometimes you have to clean the slate to do that. So starting young, he's got them where they're a little bit more impressionable. And I'm sure his transfer guys that he's got in here are more team leader type guys than athlete type guys. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's kind of building a foundation. And sometimes when coach goes into a new program, it has to be done, especially if you want to be sustainable later on. So going to be interesting to watch that and see how that grows. And I hope Texas fans and Texas in general gives them the time to build a foundation, because those things they're not easy to build. We're so quick to want wins and notoriety and championships and all that. We got to give these coaches some time to build.
And I've said somewhat similar to that for the last 5 to 7 years. The Texas program is a reflection of the constant turnover and not providing certain resources at the time. Like, I'm not saying Charlie Strong would have had the type of success, but I think if he was given 5 years, that could have been the possibility. And the same with Tom Herman, but you know how political it is, Texas, but that place, you get them going, as you know. I think it's a special place. I mean, once you get it going.
You know, I think Charlie had a good foundation starting to build where the kids were more about being men of character than they were being men of 6th Street. You know what I mean? And, you know, it would have been nice to see him have a couple more years to move on. Tom Herman was great to high school coaches in town. I mean, he was great. And they had a little bit of success quickly. And maybe that was the issue there. So I think if the Texas alum and the Texas high ups would just kind of find the middle of those two, I think they'd have something really special there, and something that everybody Texas that enjoys Texas football could be proud of.
It's going to take some patience. I don't think this is the year. I think 8 wins, is that a success in your eyes as a high school football coach in Texas?
100%. I think 8 wins in their life would be really, really huge. Great, significant, a good sound bowl game, because they're always going to get a good bowl game and look good in a bowl game. You know, I think that's the turnaround. What do they look like at the end of the season, not the beginning of the season? Because everybody comes out gangbusters, but, you know, how do they finish? You know, a lot of these college teams, I was talking to LJ Bowens. He's our Power 5 defensive end. He is a stud. He's been to visited Oregon. He's visited A&M just last weekend. And we were talking about recruiting, and we were talking about the transfer portal. Like, you need to ask how many kids left your program, because that'll tell you a lot of what you need to know on whether kids are going to want to stay there or they're not. And if they're not wanting to stay there, then why? Was it a kid? Was it a flaw in the kid's character, or was it a flaw in the coach's character? Which one? Because there was something that happened there. So, you know, just understanding that and the climate of college football is huge. You know, Coach Traylor and myself, we talk about it all the time when they come in, and every recruiter that came in to get our 2 Power 5 guys, both LJ and Anthony Evans, we had those conversations about that transfer portal, about NIL and what it looked like, and how it's affecting their team, and how it's affecting their coaching staff, and how it's affecting their recruiting. I mean, this is the climate has changed in college football. It's really no longer college football. It's like the semi-pro league for the pros now. It's a waiver line here and there, and you go get your hired guns and you go play.
I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned Coach Traylor. It's Louisiana Monroe, Alabama comes. Regardless if Texas beats Alabama, I think UTSA is going to provide a more significant scare that night in Austin than people are giving UTSA credit for.
100%. Coach Traylor gets his kids to play. They have quite a few Rockets on there, so you know that they understand what winning's about, and you also understand that they got a never say die attitude. So if Texas gives them an inch, they'll take a yard, and it's going to be a better game than people think.
Yeah, and they could potentially beat Texas. If it's a high spread, I'm taking the points. 100%. I'll take whatever favors UTSA. There's no doubt.
I'll let Coach Traylor know. He'll be happy to hear that.
Oh my God, that guy is absolute hilarious. One of the most comical human beings on this face of this earth.
He's a genuine dude. I mean, genuine dude.
Good old East Texas boy.
Yeah, through and through, and his brother's the same way. They're just good people. I like being around those guys.
It would be amazing for UTSA to find a way to be able to keep him. And for that duration of that contract, but he's going to be a hot commodity. Now, this segment it's called Quick Draw Questions. And I'm going to bring up your photos.
All right.
And I just go a circle around. We'll go bottom picture. What's going on right there? Yeah, obviously coaching staff, and we'll remove this graphic right here because we're shading these pictures here. What was going on at that moment? I see Coach Rutledge in the middle.
Coach Rutledge he was doing a devotional for us. I believe we were in the playoffs, going to the playoffs. I can't remember what year that is, but I know this. There's Coach Rackley on the left. Bruce Webb, who I was talking about earlier, is right there, and he's back. He's retired 2 times, and I've got him out of retirement twice to help with my coaches. That's Coach Call right there, who's with us still, and then Coach Anderson on the right of him. That's Coach Carrier, who's out working with Sean McAuliffe in Cy Ranch, and all of us played ball for those coaches, Coach Rutledge, Coach Webb, Coach Rackley, and Coach Belter on the right over there. And back there in the back is, gosh, dog it. He just recently passed away. I'm sorry. I cannot remember his name right now, and everybody's going to yell at me for it. But he was our superintendent our associate superintendent there at Judson for a little while. Marcus Nelson. And just a great trendsetter for us. He also played ball with us. So all the young guys in that picture, we played ball for Rutledge, Belter, Webb, and Rackley. And that was a devotional for a playoff game.
That's loyalty. Loyalty. Love it. The one in the middle, I know you and I have both lost our fathers. And I know that's your dad, correct?
That's my dad right there. Yeah, that was after I want to say that one was in San Marcos when we finally made the playoffs for the first time in 13 or 14 years. And he always made it to the games, and he'd sit off in the end zone and have his popcorn and Dr. Pepper. And he wasn't supposed to have a Dr. Pepper, but my mom wasn't there, so she didn't know. But I remember the next year after he passed, it was tough because he passed. Actually, tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the anniversary of him dying in 2018, August 5th at 5:35. And that next year that he was watching from the heavens, our concessionaire on the chair that he used to sit in the end zone left his popcorn and his Dr. Pepper. And that was a special season there. He still watches. I know that much because he still gives me messages.
You can feel it. There's no doubt. I have little instances like weird moments, but it's really not weird when you think about it.
Well, if you look for them, see, people stop looking for them, and that's the problem. If you look for them and you feel for them, you'll always see them, and they come when you need them. That's what's interesting, and I'm just a firm believer in that. There's an afterlife. There's a good afterlife, and we'll be back together one day soon.
Hey, I love your attitude. A lot of people should adhere to this knowledge and this. I mean, seriously, the dead remain alive in other forms, so to speak. Now, we've reviewed the Judson Diamond, but up top, I can't tell what year that is. That's with Coach Brown at Texas.
Yeah, they are actually Texas was in town for a bowl game, and Rutledge and myself just happened to be out there watching the practice. And Rutledge and Coach Brown were pretty tight when Coach Rutledge was with the Texas High School Coach Association. So had the opportunity to take a picture with 2 legends. I'm all about it, man. And I think I'm probably about 35 years old right there. So that was about 40 pounds ago, maybe 50. And just down to earth guys. We sat there and talked for a few minutes, and you would have thought, Coach Brown was like Uncle Tio over there, man. They were just cutting up, laughing, and having a good time because they were that close.
That's amazing. That's one good thing about Mac, one quality he has. He just had the talent to be able to have conversations with everybody.
He's a real guy. He's just a real dude.
Truly real.
He didn't let the limelight get to him.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
Coach, this is when this podcast started, we were just audio. It was literally at the beginning of the lockdown of COVID, and it was nothing but negativity. And that negativity seems to have carried over for this long. So we like to end on positivity. What's going on in your world, or what you see that you would deem as something, tell me something good situation?
I'll tell you what, something good is, I get to coach at Judson High School, and I get to coach with some of my best friends. Coach Sierra, our offense coordinator, has been with me. He was actually the first time I was at Judson. He's there with me now again. He's been with me since the San Marcos days and through the Johnson days. Coach Bruce Webb, been one of my mentors, been one of my friends since 1992. Coach Call, who's been there for 19 years, got to come back and coach with him. My defensive coordinator is a kid I coached, Quentin Green. I got to bring up one of my best friends from Laredo, Bo Gonzalez, and got to bring over 2 coaches from Johnson, and Gary Taylor and Justin Guerra. Got to hire one of my best friend coaches' sons, Brendan Boykin. I get to coach with one of the guys that when I was in high school, he was probably the most rowdiest Rocket Pride fan there was in the stands, and now he coaches at Judson. Just having an amazing time coaching with some great people. And you know, the work life is great because the home life is great. You know, I tell the coaches all the time, when you get your home life right, everything else will fall into place. I got a beautiful girlfriend and Miriam Salas. My family's doing well. My mom's doing well, which is important to me. My sister and my brother are making it. They're getting things done the way they get them done. It's just everything's going great. You know, we had a great summer, got to get away, got the coaches to get away, get a couple vacations in, and come back, re-energized, refocused, and ready to make this Rocket resurgence happen now and not later. I don't want to do it in 2-3 years. I want to do it right now this year in 2022 because it's important to our fans and our community, and most importantly, it's important to our kids.
I love it. That's why I have gravitated to coaches my entire life, and why the coaches who were in my life or coached me or tried to coach me are still a part of my life in some form or fashion. That's because they see life differently, and just puts a lot of negative, what most of the world perceives as negative. It's all about perception, and just go, right. Champion everything. Man, it's dramatic. It's just what high school football is all about. And here are the 2 episodes. You know Matt Stepp, episode 163, and here locally, the Snoop Daniel. I have no idea why I misspelled his name. I said Daniels throughout the podcast. So Snoop, I apologize. Coach Soto is going to make me run gassers for it. But
hey, don't do wrong with Snoop Daniel now. That dude is one of the hardest working dudes in Austin. Hey, he is everywhere.
He hustles. I mean, the guy doesn't. I don't think he sleeps.
I don't think he does either. I think he's editing everything all night long. He must be drinking them Zoas or something, or maybe he's manscaping and getting the work done.
You know what? He deserves a Manscaped Ultra Smooth package.
There you go. Oh Lord,
brother, this has been fun. This is long
definitely
overdue too, but I think it's everything happens at a certain timing for the right reason. I mean, I really do.
For sure.
I'm proud of you. I really am.
Thank you. And I appreciate our friendship because it's a real one. There was a no-brainer when you called and asked. That's a no-brainer. Anytime you need something, you call, I'll be there.
Likewise, my friend. You need anything or connect you with anybody, if I can do it, or if I need to be down there to get you something, real friends, brother.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm a Judson fan for sure.
Come down and watch a game. That first one will be a doozy.
Who do you guys have first?
San Antonio Johnson in the Alamo Dome.
Oh, my goodness.
In the KSAT 12 Pigskin Classic, the first one of its kind. 3 games in a row were the middle game. So you got it's going to be something special. The kids are going to love it. I'm going to love being in the AC instead of being outside on August 27th, but the kids are going to play hard.
But you're not going to let them go in the gym and train or indoor facility, are you? You're just.
If I had an indoor, we'd put them in an indoor.
Judson alumni.
Booster. Let's go. Let's get an
indoor facility in Judson. It's necessary.
Let's go.
State powerhouse. Make donations. Borrow money.
There you go. Hey. I know exactly where to put it.
Yeah. Indoor facility with turf and AC for everybody.
Bingo.
Multi-activity center, not just football.
Everybody can use it, and I'll make sure that 100%.
I know how to phrase it nowadays.
Hey, that's what you do. You make sure that the band can get in there, the color guard can get in there, RTC can get in there, because it's important. Their programs are just as important as yours, and you gotta make sure that they understand that.
They're all part of what makes Friday so special.
You ain't lying. It's best in the world. It's Friday Night Lights in Texas.
Woo! Man, I can't wait. Thursday, the 25th, it all starts. And you get down to San Antonio on Friday. Triple header, you said, right?
Triple header, August 27th. It's a Sunday.
That's
it is
amazing.
going on. It's going to be, bare knuckle brawls out there for sure. It's going to be something else.
That's unbelievable. I can't wait, man. I'm glad you're a part of it. So for the now, Stories Inside the Man Cave VIP alumni, which he'll be back for sure, Mark Soto, and for the OG Man Cave boys, that being Hardball Hards, Big Mike, and Coach Mo, we are out.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.